House rules. Each speaker has 5 minutes. The first and last minutes are protected. The judge will ring a bell to signal the protected time. The bell will ring continuously after 5 minutes.
Panel, the discussion this evening is drawn from the motion, the end justifies the means. But before we can break it down to every piece that will make this motion understandable, we'll also want to add that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I would like to ask the House, looking at the person on your left and the person on your right, who of you here was not punished by a slap, by a cane, or by a kick, by your parents to become the person who you are today? Regardless of what you got, of all that I've mentioned, the end is that you are who you are. The slap doesn't matter, the kick didn't matter, the stick will not, but what matters now is the result herefore. Which leads me to the definition of the motion. And we are telling you that in this context, the end is a desired result. To justify is to show or to prove that something is right beyond reasonable doubt. And then the means in this context specifically, which is also going to be the area from which our parameters will be drawn, refer to the good or the bad that comes from the way that one takes. But the mechanism that this means is coming through is to achieve a desired result. And now we are setting up a parameter and stating, panel, that a desired result in this context has to be only good, morally okay, acceptable on both local and universal scales. So the end justifying the means in this context does not apply to someone here who is going to tell us about things whose results are going to implicate society negatively or to an undesired extent. My colleagues are going to tell you about the French Revolution. We are going to tell you about how World War II's atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan were all examples. We are going to tell you how the quarantine during COVID-19 era was part. We shall also tell you how the anti-gay bill signed by Uganda's parliament is an example just to justify that the end justifies the means. I shall, among many other things, state by...
POI.
I shall take that one.
Do you think ending the World War with Hiroshima and Nagasaki was actually morally upright?
Let me explain then. If a desired result is important enough, the methods used to obtain the desired result don't matter. Now, answering the negator who asked about the World War I, Japan was going to be responsible for millions and millions and millions of lives. In fact, if you read the history well, it tells you the Western powers sanctioned the country. It was sanctioned, and what happened? It continued advancing. You can clearly see that the peaceful means didn't work. What mean worked? Countries sat and resolved that for world peace to be served, atomic bombs have to be dropped on Japan. These were people making a decision to save the majority of the world from the annihilation which was threatened by a bunch of few people called the Japanese. And that is why we are furthering our discussion by saying that, according to the book of Dr. Tom Lewis, which is entitled Atomic Salvation, the sanctions didn't work, yes, but then you realize that bombing Japan, specifically Hiroshima and Nagasaki, saved the lives of 32 million people. 32 million people. But let me tell you how many people were killed in that bombing. Only 80,000 people. You see, yes, people died. But should we save 80,000 people to take away the world population of 1 billion? No. Yes, they died. The means are condemnable. But the means are now justified because that was the only way the world could resort to accessing, restoring, and coming up with a long-fought-for world peace. Now, in our subsequent explanations, we are going to tell you how the anti-gay bill, we are going to tell you how the French Revolution and many other things are just but a justification. But mark this, regardless of what results and if they are positive, we are going to crown the means we used to be positive means, even if it means killing. Rest my case.
Ladies and gentlemen, I greet you all. Good evening. My name is Ansel Mamanya, the first speaker. From the negator's side, resolved, the end justifies the means. Ladies and gentlemen, we get a team of team of farmers that comes and tells us that they are going to make sure that they set their parameters, that the desired result is morally good. Ask them a question. If they think that USA hitting Japan with the Japan cities, the Hiroshima and Nagasaki with atomic bombs was actually morally upright, and they say yes because they were saving 32 million people. But these people know that they are actually up to right now, people are still suffering from radiations, and those radiations are actually not yet to stop because people are actually still suffering. These people come and tell us and justify the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings because they were saving 32 million people. At the end of the day, USA, these people were revenging for the Pearl Harbor attack. That was an attack on a soldier. These people attacked innocent citizens in Japan and actually still justify the move that it was actually something that is morally upright. That was not morally upright at the end of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, these people come and give us a narrow definition of the word of the phrase, the end justifies the mean. Now this phrase was actually generated from the Greek mythology, which terms it as a political philosophy. Ladies and gentlemen, according to the Greek mythology, they say that the end justifies the means actually means the desired result is important. If the desired result is important enough, then the methods used to obtain the desired result do not matter, even though they are not morally upright, ladies and gentlemen. But these people came and tell us that they actually want to actually support this. Allowed?
Now, if at all it's not the end that should justify the means, what is it? What is your other alternative?
Ladies and gentlemen, there's always an ethical alternative. Every time there's always an ethical alternative, and you can't tell us that the only alternative you have is an ethical alternative, ladies and gentlemen. What our arguments, ladies and gentlemen? First, it's a moral hazard. We are seeing that if the end justifies the mean, it means individuals can actually justify their unethical actions in pursuit of their goals. Imagine right now we lived in a world where prostitution was actually accepted because it used to provide for your family, where people steal to provide for their families. That's actually a moral hazard. Another argument, ladies and gentlemen, our argument is that the unintended consequence, ladies and gentlemen, is that even though you're trying to justify, the end justifies the means, that there's always the unforeseen negative consequence. Like, ladies and gentlemen, the USA went and bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. For them, they wanted to end the World War. But up to right now, people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki are still suffering. The USA can't come and cater for them because up to now they're still suffering. Denied. Ladies and gentlemen, our third argument is the violation of human rights, ladies and gentlemen. This end justifies the means actually justifies human rights violations such as torture and oppression. I mean, leaders can actually go on and go through torture people and oppress people thinking they're actually justified. For example, take Putin's actions in Ukraine, in Georgia, and other neighboring countries. These have been seen as reflecting willingness or use of military force to secure what he perceives as Russia's strategic plan. Well, all he wants is to defend the interests of Russia. That's the moral goal they are trying to achieve, but this person is actually torturing people in Ukraine and Russia. Then you have the ethical alternative, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, there's always an ethical alternative. If it was ending the World War II, these people could have sat down on a table, they would have discussed issues. There was no need to actually go and bomb Hiroshima and Nagasaki with atomic bombs so that you can, up to now, people are still being affected because there's actually a way to solve it other than you doing the unethical way, ladies and gentlemen. Then there's erosion of trust. Societies are built on trust. Ethical values can be eroded when people believe that those in power are willing to use any means necessary to actually achieve their goals. Now we take an instance of a family, ladies and gentlemen. When you go down into a family, let me say a father is trying to impart authority into the family, like they said that you are all punished, all disciplined somewhere to actually. Imagine a father who beats up a child to death, trying to impart discipline, ladies and gentlemen. Is the end still justifying the means at the end of the day? I believe that's not the case, ladies and gentlemen, and with that I beg to rest my case.
This is the High School Crossfire. We'll be back in a minute.